Stop. Stop praying that prayer. The one you've been repeating every single night for weeks, maybe months. The one you whisper into your pillow when the house goes quiet and nobody can hear you but God. Stop it. Not because He isn't listening, not because your words don't matter, but because He already answered it 11 days ago. The answer has been sitting in your life, fully delivered, wrapped in light, waiting for you to reach down and pick it up. But you walked right past it. Not once, 3 times. You looked directly at your miracle, stared it in the face, and didn't recognize it because it arrived disguised as something you almost rejected. Something ordinary. Something you thought was beneath you. Something that didn't match the picture in your head of what salvation was supposed to look like. And if that just sent a shiver through your body, stay right here, because this message is not an accident. Before we go any further, our channel is growing toward 1,000 subscribers, and we genuinely need your help. If this content speaks to something deep inside you, please take a moment to subscribe. It truly means the world to us. Now, let me show you what you've been missing. Think about the last several weeks of your life. Think about the rhythm you've fallen into. Every night, the same posture. Knees on the floor or face buried in your hands. The same request rising from your chest like smoke. Maybe it's financial. You've been asking God to open a door, to provide, to send something that breaks the cycle of not enough. Maybe it's relational. You've been asking for the right person, for love that doesn't leave, for a companion who sees the real you. Maybe it's physical. You've been praying for healing, for your body to stop betraying you, for the diagnosis to reverse, for the pain to release its grip. Or maybe it's something you can't even put into words, a heaviness, a season that has overstayed its welcome, a feeling that you've been forgotten by the very God who promised to never leave you. And every night you pray, and every morning you open your eyes, scan your life for the evidence of change, and find nothing. The bank account looks the same. The phone stays silent. The body still aches. The loneliness still hums its low, constant note. So you drag yourself through another day, and when the night comes again, you drop to your knees and say the same words, louder this time, more specific. You start giving God details, as if maybe He missed something. You start bargaining. You start adding urgency to your tone, because surely, if He could just hear the desperation in your voice, He would move faster. I need you to hear something. That cycle, that exhausting, soul-draining loop of praying and seeing nothing. It is one of the most misunderstood experiences in the spiritual life, because the silence you are interpreting as absence is not silence at all. It is the quiet hum of a completed work. God is not sitting in heaven reviewing your request. He is not deliberating. He is not on the fence about whether you deserve an answer. The answer has already been dispatched. It arrived in your life 11 days ago, and the reason you didn't see it, the reason you are still on your knees repeating a prayer that has already been fulfilled, is because God's delivery system does not work the way you think it does. Let me explain what I mean. When you pray for rain, you expect clouds. You look to the sky. You wait for thunder. But what if God sent you a well? What if He sent someone to your door with a cup of water? You'd look past them. You'd peer over their shoulder at the sky and say, "Where is my rain?" And the whole time, the water you asked for is right there in front of you, being offered by a hand you didn't think was holy enough to carry your miracle. This is the great tragedy of unanswered prayer. Most of the time, it is not unanswered at all. It is unrecognized. The answer came, but it was wearing clothes you didn't expect. It spoke in a voice you didn't respect. It showed up in a form so ordinary that your spirit, trained to look for the spectacular, dismissed it entirely. And I am not speaking in metaphors right now. I am talking about a specific moment, something that happened in your actual life approximately 11 days ago. Something real, a conversation, an opportunity, a name that crossed your mind, a door that cracked open just slightly enough that light poured through. You noticed it for half a second. You felt a flicker of something, a warmth, a nudge, a quickening in your spirit that you couldn't quite explain. And then you moved on. You went back to your routine. You went back to your prayer. And the moment passed like a coin dropped into deep water. But that was it. That was the answer. And now I need to tell you something that might be difficult to hear. God's answers almost never arrive looking the way you prayed for them to look. This is not cruelty. This is divine wisdom. Because if every prayer was answered in the exact packaging you requested, you would never grow. You would never learn discernment. You would never develop the spiritual vision required to walk the path He has designed for you. The disguise is not a punishment. It is an invitation to see differently. Let me walk you through something. Some of you have been praying for financial breakthrough. Months of asking. You've been specific. You've asked for a certain amount, a certain door, a certain kind of opportunity that matches your qualifications, your dignity, your sense of what you deserve. And about 11 days ago, something showed up. Maybe it was a job offer, but it wasn't the one you wanted. The title felt like a step down. The pay was less than what you had in mind. The company wasn't impressive. The role felt beneath someone with your experience, your education, your gifts. So you dismissed it. You said no without even praying about it. You turned away from a door that God Himself had opened because the frame wasn't gold enough. But here is what you didn't see. That position was a seed. It was a threshold. On the other side of that seemingly small opportunity was a connection, a relationship, a chain of events that would have unfolded over the next 6 to 8 months and landed you in exactly the place you've been praying to reach. God wasn't offering you a lesser thing. He was offering you the first step of a staircase that leads to the very thing you asked for. And you rejected step 1 because it didn't look like step 10. Some of you prayed for love, for deep, real, lasting companionship. You asked God to send someone who sees you, who values you, who stays. And He did. Approximately 11 days ago, someone entered your life or re-entered your awareness. Maybe it was someone at church. Maybe it was an old friend who reached out unexpectedly. Maybe it was someone who has been there all along, but you never considered them because they didn't match the image you constructed in your mind. They weren't tall enough, successful enough, exciting enough. They didn't give you butterflies in the way you expected romance to feel. So you friend-zoned them. You politely redirected the conversation. You smiled and moved on, completely unaware that the person standing in front of you, carrying quiet devotion in their heart, was the direct answer to the prayer you cried over just the night before. God does not send love, the way the world packages it. He sends it steady. He sends it kind. He sends it in someone whose presence feels like peace rather than fireworks. And many of you have been so conditioned to associate love with intensity that you missed the miracle of someone who simply wanted to be there. And then there are some of you who have been praying for healing, physical healing, emotional healing, the restoration of something that broke inside you so long ago you can barely remember what wholeness felt like. And about 11 days ago, someone told you something. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was a stranger. Maybe it was a family member you don't particularly get along with. They said something that struck a nerve, advice you didn't ask for, a suggestion that felt presumptuous. Maybe they recommended a practice, a practitioner, a book, a habit, a change in your routine, and you brushed it off. You thought, what do they know about what I'm going through? But that person was carrying a message, not from their own wisdom, but channeled through them like water through a pipe. They didn't even fully understand why they felt compelled to say it, but the Spirit moved them, and the words they spoke contained the exact key to the door you've been pounding on in prayer. You dismissed the messenger because you didn't respect the packaging, and the healing you asked for went uncollected, like a prescription written and never filled. Do you see the pattern? The financial answer came disguised as something humble. The relational answer came disguised as someone ordinary. The healing answer came disguised as advice from an unlikely source. In every case, the delivery was real. The miracle was legitimate. But your expectations created a filter so specific, so rigid, that the answer couldn't get through. It arrived at the doorstep of your life, glowing with divine intention, and you stepped over it on your way to pray for the very thing it contained. This is why some prayers feel unanswered for years, not because heaven is slow, but because we keep returning to sender. We reject the package, then complain that it never arrived. Now I need to get very specific with you about what happened 11 days ago, because time matters here in a way you might not expect. 11 days. That is not a random number. In many spiritual traditions, numbers carry weight, and 11 sits in a space of transition. It represents the threshold between completion and new beginning. It is the doorway between what was and what is about to be. And the fact that this message is reaching you now, at this exact interval, is itself a form of divine communication. God is saying, through this very moment, I sent it. You missed it, but I love you too much to let you miss it forever. Here is what I need you to understand about how God operates when an answer goes uncollected. He does not simply resend the same package the same way. That is not how divine orchestration works. When you miss a God-appointed moment, the universe shifts. The configuration of circumstances that aligned to create that specific opening begins to dissolve. The person moves on. The opportunity gets offered to someone else. The window of alignment between your position and your blessing narrows with every passing hour. This is not God being petty or punishing you for missing it. It is simply the nature of divine timing. Moments are living things. They arrive, they breathe, and if they are not received, they exhale and move on. But here is the part that should flood your chest with hope rather than panic. God knew you would miss it. He knew before he sent it that your expectations would cause you to look past it. And he planned for that. This video, this message reaching your ears right now, is not a coincidence. It is a second chance, a divine redirect, a course correction wrapped in words and delivered through a screen, because God is resourceful beyond anything your mind can comprehend. He will use anything, anyone, any medium to reach his children. And right now, he is reaching for you. The thing you almost rejected is still within reach. But I need you to hear this with absolute seriousness. The window is not indefinite. There is a brief period, a short grace window, where you can still turn around and collect what was left for you. Think of it this way. Imagine a golden door standing open behind you. You didn't see it when it first appeared because you were facing the other direction, praying, asking, pleading for the very thing that door leads to. Now that door has begun to close, slowly, not slammed shut, because God does not slam doors on his children. But it is moving. And if you do not turn around soon, the gap will become too narrow to walk through. This is why urgency matters right now. Not anxious urgency, not panic, holy urgency. The kind that comes from suddenly realizing that what you thought was absence was actually abundance in disguise. I want you to do something right now. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment, even if it's just a few seconds, and let your mind drift back over the past 11 days. Don't force it. Don't try to analyze or catalog every event. Just let the days replay softly, like pages turning in a book. Ask the Spirit to highlight the moment. Ask to be shown what you missed. Because here's what happens when you do this with an open heart. Something will surface. It might be a face. It might be a sentence someone said to you that you barely registered at the time. It might be an email you deleted, a phone call you let go to voicemail, a thought that drifted across your mind at 2 a.m. and dissolved before you could catch it. It might be something so small, so seemingly insignificant, that your first instinct will be to dismiss it again. Resist that instinct. That smallness is the disguise. The treasure is inside it. One of the most profound truths of spiritual life is that God whispers. He does not compete with the noise of your life. He does not shout over your doubts or your plans or your carefully constructed expectations. He whispers, and his whispers are often deposited in the most unremarkable moments. A stranger's comment in a grocery store, a song that played on the radio at exactly the wrong time, which was actually exactly the right time. A friend canceling plans which forced you into stillness, which opened space for a thought you would never have had otherwise. 11 days ago, one of these quiet moments contained your answer. And the most breathtaking part of this entire revelation is not that you missed it. It is that you are being told about it now, while there is still time. Some of you are already beginning to see it. Something just flickered in your memory, a moment you forgot about until right now. Hold on to that. Do not let it dissolve again. That flicker is the Holy Spirit putting a spotlight on the exact intersection where your prayer and God's answer crossed paths. Now let me tell you what to do with it. The moment you identify it, and you will, your first response is going to be doubt. Your mind will say, that little thing, that ordinary conversation, that random opportunity, that cannot possibly be what God sent. And I need you to push through that doubt, like it is a physical wall standing between you and everything you've been asking for. Because doubt is the same gatekeeper that caused you to miss it the first time. It is the voice that says miracles must be dramatic, that God's hand must be unmistakable, that divine answers should arrive with thunder and trembling ground. But the God who created the universe also created the quiet unfurling of a leaf. He works in both scales, and more often than not, he chooses the small, the still, the easily overlooked, because those are the deliveries that require faith to receive, and faith is the currency of the kingdom. So here is what I need you to do. Look back over those 11 days with completely new eyes. Scan them, not for the extraordinary, but for the surprisingly ordinary. Search for the moment that felt like nothing, but carried a strange warmth. The conversation that seemed random, but lingered in your mind, a beat too long. The opportunity that appeared too simple to be significant. The person who showed up uninvited and said something that made you uncomfortable. That discomfort was not irritation, it was recognition. Your spirit knew before your mind caught up. When you find it, and the spirit will make it unmistakably clear, I need you to act on it within 48 hours. Not 48 days. Not when you feel ready. Not when all your doubts have been resolved and every detail makes logical sense. 48 hours. Because the golden door is still open, but barely. The grace window that allowed this message to reach you is the same grace window that is holding that opportunity in place. Once it passes, the configuration changes. God will still love you. He will still be with you. But that particular answer, in that particular form, will have moved beyond your reach. And the next one may take a different shape entirely, arriving in a season you cannot predict. I know this feels like pressure, but it's not the pressure of performance. It's the pressure of a father who has watched his child pray for something night after night, who answered that prayer with precision and love, and who is now watching that child nearly walk away from the very thing they've been crying for. Imagine a parent who spent months crafting the perfect gift, who placed it gently on the doorstep, who watched through the window as their child walked past it again and again, distracted, looking elsewhere, convinced the gift hadn't come yet. That parent would eventually find another way to say, "Look down. It's right there. I already gave it to you." That is what this moment is. God is saying, "Look down. It's right there." Some of you need to make a phone call. The person you dismissed, the one who reached out and you didn't take seriously, call them back. Some of you need to revisit an opportunity you turned down. Go back to that email, that offer, that invitation, and say yes before the door finishes closing. Some of you need to follow the advice you rejected, the words someone spoke over you that felt irrelevant or even offensive. Go back to those words. Sit with them. Let the Spirit decode what your pride wouldn't let you hear the first time. And some of you simply need to be still and let the recognition wash over you. Because the answer God sent 11 days ago wasn't an action item. It was a realization, a shift in perspective, a truth that tried to land in your heart but was deflected by years of guarded thinking. For you, the act of receiving isn't doing something new. It's allowing something to finally settle into the place it was always meant to occupy. Here is the promise I want to leave with you, and it is not my promise, but one that has been echoed through every sacred text and spiritual tradition across the ages. God does not forget his children. He does not lose their prayers in a pile of cosmic paperwork. Every word you have spoken in the dark has been heard in the light. Every tear has been collected. Every desperate whisper has been received with more tenderness than you can fathom. The delay you experienced was never neglect. It was preparation, both of the answer and of you. Because some blessings require a version of you that didn't exist yet when you first asked. And the weeks of waiting, the nights of aching, the mornings of waking up to what looked like silence, those were not empty. They were shaping you into someone capable of carrying what God prepared. You are that person now. The preparation is complete. The answer has arrived. And this moment, right here, is the holy intersection where your awareness finally catches up to God's faithfulness. Go back 11 days. Find the moment. You will know it when you see it, because something in your chest will tighten and then release. And in that release, you will feel a warmth that can only be described as recognition. That is the Spirit confirming what your soul already knows. Then act, not with perfection, not with total understanding, just with trust. Take one step toward the thing you almost rejected and watch what unfolds, because on the other side of that step is not just the answer to one prayer. It is the beginning of a season where you finally learn to recognize God's voice in the ordinary, where you stop walking past miracles, where your spiritual eyes open fully and you see that you have been surrounded by answered prayers all along, stacked like gifts you never unwrapped. This is your second chance. Not everyone gets one delivered this clearly. Hold it gently. Move on it boldly. And never again let the disguise fool you into rejecting the divine.